Hi, my name's Aaliyah and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some horror book recommendations. So, I have a few horror books to talk about today. One of my favorite genres that I haven't been reading as much of lately, but I really like, is nature horror. So it's usually books that have to do with like cryptids or like creepy plants or human animal hybrids or things like that. And so I have a little bit of a list that I wanted to share with you today. So the first one I wanted to talk about is Devolution by Max Brooks. So this is a horror novel about Bigfoot, essentially, and it's written in these kind of like journal entries from this woman who was living in this small kind of like posh, eco-friendly little community out in the woods. And one day she's living in Washington and Mount Rainier erupts and everything goes into chaos, and she and all the people in this community are in this little essentially tiny village by themselves, and they get cut off from everybody else, and some creepy critters start coming out of the woods and they have to figure out how to survive or not. So that one was 5 stars for me. It was super fun, super fast-paced and creepy. If you like anthropology or cryptids or Bigfoot stuff, or just like lots of body horror and gore, then I think this one's for you. I read it when I was camping and it was like the best reading experience, so highly recommend that one. And then I also wanted to tell you about Mexican Gothic. So lots of people have read this. It's by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It is a horror novel about this woman named Noemi, and she gets a letter from her cousin, and her cousin is married and is living in this small Mexican town, and she thinks that there's some creepy stuff going on with her husband. She sends like a really cryptic letter to her cousin, and her cousin's like, okay, I think I need to go check on her. So Noemi goes to her cousin's husband's house, essentially, and things go down. It's very creepy. There's a lot of mushroom horror, which isn't something I even knew I liked or that I knew existed, but it's very scary and weird, and there's body horror and trigger warnings for rape and eugenics discussion. So yeah, it's definitely kind of nasty, but also like super fun to read about. So I definitely recommend that one. I gave that like 4.5 stars, I think. And then the next one I want to tell you about is Thornhill, and this is a graphic novel. I have not read a lot of horror graphic novels, but this one is super creepy. It's all in black and white, and it's a pretty chunky book, and it's about this girl who, her mom has passed away, and she and her dad move into this new apartment, and the place that they move to is right across the street from this old abandoned building. And so this girl ends up kind of like going and exploring this building, and turns out the building is haunted and things kind of go from there. So this graphic novel is also unique because the illustrations are really super creepy, for one thing, and also there's no words, so the whole thing is written just in pictures. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. I checked that out from the library, but I definitely recommend reading that if you haven't heard of it before, because it's very interesting and spooky. And then another one I want to tell you about was Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. So this is by the same author who wrote Wilder Girls, and this came out not too long ago, but I don't think a lot of people have been talking about it recently. So this is about a girl named Margot, and she lives with her mom, and she has no other family that she knows about. Her mom refuses to talk about her family and doesn't ever say anything about Margot's father. And one day Margot finds a picture and on the back of the picture it names a town, and she thinks it's the town that her mom grew up in. So she runs away to this town to try and find her family, because she knows, I think she knows she has a grandma, or did have a grandma or something. So she goes to figure out what's going on with her family, and things go from there. Her relationship with her mom is very strange. Her mom is kind of creepy, and yeah, the whole thing is super suspicious. The town is creepy. The family that Margot finds is weird. The people in the town are weird and are really like put off by her being there. Yes, this is also kind of a sapphic book. It deals with generational trauma, and there's some body horror, and there's some nature horror elements. So if that's interesting to you, you should definitely check this out. This was 5 stars for me. I thought it was so fun. I was really surprised by how much I loved this. But yes, highly, highly recommend this. Very spooky and strange. And then the last one I wanted to tell you about was Summer Suns. I've talked about this in some other videos. I read this summer in a vlog, so I'll link that down below if that interests you. This is a dark academia gothic novel about this guy Andrew who can see ghosts, and he's being haunted by the ghost of his dead friend. So he goes on a journey to discover how his friend died, because the death was ruled as a suicide, but Andrew doesn't believe it was a suicide. So he goes to the southern town that his friend was living in to investigate his death. And he is also in university while he's there. He's in grad school, and the university is kind of creepy. The students are kind of strange. The professors are kind of weird. Things are going on. Very suspicious. So if you are interested in reading some awesome queer rep, there's a trans character in this novel. There's also multiple queer men. There's also kind of like budding friendships. There's also car racing, if that interests you. It's spooky. There's haunted houses. It's a fun and fresh time. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's very addictive. Also, this is an adult novel, so there is like alcohol and drug use, so just be aware of that if you're going into this. But I definitely recommend you read this. It was absolutely fantastic. So those are some of the books I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any spooky book recommendations for me, leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!